Picture this. Students in classrooms across the country are taking out their number 2 pencils. Long, enduring, stress-packed hours that last for a few days but feels like weeks on end. We all know this feeling. Students are sitting in packed classroom filled alphabetically just by their last names, just like mine, Jameson. I'd be in the middle usually somewhere. Students' nerves begin to grow as the proctor reads the instructions, and students begin to question how these tests benefit them. And teachers themselves begin to ask the same thing. These tests reflect a teacher's work ethic in relation to the students. Now, standardized testing. What is it? Standardized testing requires test takers to answer a series of common questions. Scores based on a standard average. Scores are then compared from an individual to a large group. Usually I was always around the middle. I was never high, I was never low, I was just middle. And I just never liked these standardized testings. The test reflects mostly a teacher's work ethic and students' grasp of their knowledge. The No Child Left Behind Act, a big controversy that grew in 2000, that the act was passed. The act ensures that every student is receiving a fair and equal education regardless of social class, race, or gender. It holds schools responsible for their students' progress. PARCC, a common example, is tested K through 12. The test is a preparation for the student's future. The main focus is for the kids' preparation for college and how they are on track for college. It also gives parents and teachers understanding of their child's students' progress and what's going on, and the primary goal for their students to become well-rounded. How well does a child and a teacher perform? When the results are given back, the administration has an idea how well the teachers are doing in the classroom. My friend Caitlin Murphy, who is a third grade teacher, stated that, she quoted that people fail to recognize that it does not have to be the teacher's fault that a student performs poorly on an exam. Students' anxiety levels cause a distraction because they believe that if they fail, they may not succeed. Not being good test takers is a common thing. Some people just aren't good test takers. I feel like I was always one of them, and I still am one of them. Teaching the test, meaning that schools give more attention to language arts, mathematics, and other subjects on a general level. The average teacher now reports spending about 30% of their work time on test-related tasks, including preparing students, proctoring, and reviewing results of standardized tests. It comes from Walker. The lack of freedom and creativity, thinking outside the box. Limited variety, focusing on just reading, writing, and mathematics. Most of these standardized tests tend to forget about other subjects that a lot of kids are being taught over years, which is science and history and other things like that. Time in the classroom is being wasted and taken away from students due to the redundant information they're being taught. Students no longer are present within their learning setting, and it causes a created loss of interest. Types of intelligence. Recent thinking among many leading educators suggests that there are various forms of intelligence and not just one. And maybe some of these kids don't do well on these certain standardized tests, like with the SATs and the PARCC and stuff like that. Moving on, the pressures on the student's future. The anxiety. A lot of anxiety in school. Major anxiety, in my opinion. Just one specific day doesn't account for other days in the student's careers, and that's what these standardized tests basically are doing to these kids. Going into college, there's the SAT that, at the end of your junior year you take, and those test results are sent out to colleges, and those tests are very, very different from what you were being taught in high school throughout all those years, and you could do bad on that test, and the anxiety level just skyrockets because you're not going to be taking the same exact type of test and being taught the same thing you're doing. It's just basically America, where you have to go pay up to get lessons on SATs, and if you don't, then you're not going to do good. And it's just how it is. And all the pressure is on the kids for the rest of their lives. The Standard 9 test comes with specific instructions on what to do with the test booklet if a student vomits on it. That comes from Procon. Now, to conclude, to wrap it all up, it's like starting to grow a plant, and then you rip it out of the ground for examination. The base was made, and then all of a sudden comes along this test and just rips you from under your feet. Students or teachers don't succeed because they're cut short of potential. People check to reassure that a plant is being grown properly and that it's similar to what these tests is doing. It's just like the kid. How is checking up on the student's growth? The students are being placed back in the ground after being traumatized, and that's how students and teachers feel, and it's just not going to grow the same. Teachers are being rated on how well these students perform, and the lack of freedom and creativity it causes in the classroom. Pressure is put on both students and teachers. And standardized testing shouldn't be eliminated, in my opinion. It should just be reevaluated. They need to rethink this type of thing. I believe they need to put it back on the state level. It's brought to a government level nowadays. Productivity is key when managing a classroom. If the constant reoccurring of test preparation continues, no student will be excelling. Rather, become more and more like a plant that is constantly getting pulled out from the ground and reevaluated all the time. Standardized tests in the end are more irrelevant and unnecessary learning tools for students to succeed. Thank you very much, everybody.